This calls committee of the whole meeting for November 7th, 2023 to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas?
Here.
Alderwoman Garza?
Here.
Alderman Masiacos?
Present.
Alderman Donnell?
Here.
Alderman Franco is absent. Alderman Seville?
Here.
Alderman Tolliver?
Here.
Alderwoman Smith?
Here.
Alderman Bug?
Here.
Alderwoman Bade?
Here.
Alderman Lash?
Present.
Alderman Warman?
Here.
Mayor Irvin's present.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes
So
of October
moved.
17, 2023, moved by Alderman Garza, second by Alderman Smith? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Mr. Muhammad?
We have the mayor's report. Maybe you can make your way down to.
Today marks the 1-month anniversary of the attacks on Israel and the beginning of a new war and hostilities between Israel and Hamas in Palestine. Today, on this International Day of Mourning, Aurora joins with the global community in memory of the lives that have been lost and forever changed. Let us take a moment of silence. I've asked leaders of our Jewish and Muslim communities to join me today for a special combined invocation as we come together in Aurora on this solemn day. Please join me in welcoming the leader of Temple B'nai Israel here in Aurora, Rabbi Friedman, and the interfaith leader of the Islamic Center of Aurora, Imam Dr. Syed Warsi, and board members Asif Mohyuddin and Sheikh Dawood. And gentlemen, if you would come forward, please join me at the podium. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. You know, while the ongoing war is more than 6,000 miles away from here, the impact of what is happening is certainly being felt across the globe, with residual effects right here in our area. From hostages, Judith and Natalie Renan, held and released, who lived in Evanston, to little 6-year-old Wadia Afayum, killed just a short distance away in Plainfield. To family members and friends of those in Israel and Palestine who see and feel the devastation every day for the past month. Even right here in Aurora, we have seen community members of both faiths second-guess attending services at their respective temples and mosques for fear of being targeted, and some even choosing to move service location in hopes of having a greater level of security as they pray and worship. There has been an increase in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia throughout our country, with threats and hate crimes against Jews and Muslims being reported daily. Let me be clear. Hate has no home here in Aurora. Hate has no home here in Aurora. We have been, are, and will continue to be one Aurora, where everyone has a seat at the table and everyone's voice matters, including our many faith communities. For more than a century, Aurora's Jewish community has been part of our faith tapestry. Although the congregation officially formed in 1904, the first permanent building in downtown Aurora was constructed in 1827. The present site on the far west side became Temple B'nai Israel, home in 1961. Rabbi Friedman joined our community in 2016 and has been a champion for ecumenical change. Rabbi, brother, please know that Aurora is home, and we stand with you in full support during these times. just as you have stood with us during our darkest hours. We stand against anti-Semitism and promote only peace. Shalom. The Fox Valley Muslim Community Center was established nearly 30 years ago in 1995 by the family of Dr. Abbas Khawaja. As a matter of fact, we renamed the street where that mosque sits in his honor 5 years ago and have watched Aurora's Muslim community grow exponentially over time. We have partnered with the Islamic Center of Naperville throughout my administration, and earlier this year, due to the community's growth, a new mosque, the Islamic Center of Aurora, opened on the west side. Brothers, you and so many in the Muslim community of Aurora have always responded quickly and affirmatively whenever we have called. I want you to also remember that Aurora is home, and we have your back as well, just as you have ours. We stand against Islamophobia and promote only peace. Salam. Through the Aurora Interfaith Alliance, we want to continue to create more opportunities and build more authentic dialogue between our faith communities. When we launched our first breakfast on the International Day of Peace in 2022, we committed to strengthening our community together through faith and deeds. Today, we reaffirm that commitment. I said just a few weeks ago as we began the 2024 budget process that our city's budget was also a moral document that reflects our priorities. With that, we will realign dollars to better support the Aurora Interfaith Alliance in upcoming years. Amid the ongoing war, Aurora will have ongoing unity, ongoing support, and ongoing prayers. As a veteran who served in the Middle East, I know firsthand the carnages of war. As I watch the news each day, I see the devastation and pain on the faces of those in Israel and Palestine. I see the same worry and concern on your faces as well. Again, please know that Aurora is home, your home. And we will do all we can to ensure your home here is protected and peaceful. Tonight, on this 1-month anniversary, I ask each of the leaders of these faiths to give a combined invocation and prayer for our city, our country, and our world. Rabbi Friedman, then Imam Dr. Saeed Warsi. Rabbi.
Thank you, Mayor. More than 2 millennia ago, the prophet Isaiah spoke of a time in days to come when the nations would beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation, he said, neither shall they know war anymore. It's a prophetic vision, a dream, a hope yet to be fulfilled in this world. And we continue to offer prayers daily for peace and blessing throughout this world. And yet the prayers remain unanswered, and people still raise their swords against one another in warfare and in acts of terror. Precisely 1 month has passed since the vicious attack upon Israeli civilians was launched by Hamas. We're all aware of the barbaric actions of that day. More Jews died on that day than on any other day since the days of the Holocaust. Homes were destroyed, communities forced to relocate. Every family in Israel, a tiny country of some 9 million, has been touched, and by the loss of family members or friends. The whole country's been traumatized. At the same time, some 240 hostages were taken captive, and not soldiers, not men of fighting age for the most part, but mostly civilians, including women and children and little babies, old people, people with disabilities, Holocaust survivors. And Israel, as we know, has responded as any other nation would and has attacked those who wrought this havoc. They vowed not to wipe out Muslims, not to kill Arabs or Palestinians, but they're targeting Hamas, a group that has declared in their charter their intention to destroy the state of Israel and kill all Jewish people. And for years they've terrorized Israeli communities by raining down rockets and mortar shells over the border. People can and have argued over the military tactics and plans of Israel, and I'm not in a position to judge that. I do know, despite efforts to avoid civilian casualty, that so many innocent people have tragically been caught up in the battle and unable or not allowed to escape and have lost their lives. We offer our prayers for all the bereaved families of innocent victims of a generations-long conflict. May they find comfort and consolation in days to come. May the Almighty send healing to those wounded in body and in soul. We pray for the safe return of all those held hostage and for their families who await word of their fate and hold on to hope for their ultimate release. We also offer our prayers for the successful removal of this terrorist group, which has not only wreaked havoc in Israel, but has failed the people it claims to govern, continues to bring death and destruction upon those it purports to represent. Each day in our weekday prayers, we pray for the removal and destruction of an entity called Malchut Zadon, the kingdom of arrogance. When originally written, the prayer probably referred to the Roman Empire. Today, it seems many groups and governments compete for that title. We pray for a time when that kingdom of arrogance, the evil empire, so to speak, will vanish and allow the prophet's vision to be fulfilled. And as I conclude these words, I must also express deep concern for those who are filled with hate in this country and around the world. All of us who strive for a better world must strongly condemn the haters, be they anti-Muslim, anti-Semites, racists, and others who threaten the lives and well-being of anyone who is different from them. They too are part of this kingdom of arrogance, and our prayers are that their kind may no longer inhabit this world. I end as I began. May Almighty God bring peace to this troubled world, bring an end to the kingdom of arrogance, and may the Lord turn the hearts of all people toward a world of peace and harmony and mutual respect for us all.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. What I said in Arabic is I seek refuge in Allah, the God, from Satan the accursed. And I begin in the name of Allah, the most merciful, eternally beneficent. I extend my Islamic greeting from my community to all of you, which is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, which means peace and blessings of God be on all of you. And I am really thankful to Mayor Richard Irwin for inviting us. I met him first time probably a few years ago when he was in Dr. Khaja's mosque on the Friday service. That's the first time I met you, and this is probably the second time. So thank you for inviting us. The youngest place of worship in Aurora. So I begin, when I was thinking about how to begin with here in this kind of occasion, we draw our guidance from the teachings of the Prophet and from the Holy Quran. And if you can, any of you want to come in to visit our mosque, and we are willing to sit with you and discuss that anytime. Just let me know when you are coming, any of you, or any general from the people in general public as well. So I went through the last sermon of the Prophet. When the Prophet was performing the Hajj for the last time, he only performed one Hajj. And Hajj is the big occasion in Muslims' life. That is following the footsteps of Prophet Abraham. And we all three faiths revere him, and peace be upon him. He visited that place and built the place of worship with his son and his wife, Hajra and Ishmael, and peace be upon them all. So Prophet was doing the last sermon, last Hajj, and he knew that he is going to pass and he is not going to stay for the next year. So he advised the Muslims and the community in general, saying that I just brought few excerpts from his sermon. It's not like even a one-page long sermon, but inna dima'ukum wa amwalukum haramun alaykum ka hurmati yawmikum hadha fi shahrikum hadha fi baladikum hadha, which it means that I am advising you and ordering you that your blood is not permissible to be spilled by, meaning that you don't spill each other's blood, like it is sacred. This month is sacred, like this place is sacred, this occasion is sacred. Similarly, your blood to each other is sacred as well. And he said that riba ul jahiliya ma'dur, meaning the charging interest is not not allowed in Islam. So he touched upon some of the economic aspects of the life as well. And then he advised that you be good to your family and you good to be your wife and children. And he said that ayyuhan nas inna rabbukum wahid. O people, your Lord is one Lord, one God, only one God. Wa inna aba'ukum wahid. And your parents were only one, Adam and Eve. Or for all of us, they are the parents. Kullukum li Adama wa Adamu min turab, and you are all from Adam, and Adam was created from the dust. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The one who is most revered or most dear in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, is the one who is the most pious, who is the most righteous. وَلَيْسَ لِعَرَبِي عَلَى عَجَمِي. An Arab does not have any superiority over the non-Arabs, and the non-Arab has no superiority over Arab, and a white person has no superiority over the black, and the black has no superiority over white, except for the taqwa, except for the righteousness. And these are the guiding principles in the life of a Muslim. And he said, وَقَدْ تَرَكْتُمْ فِيكُمْ, and I'm leaving something with you, and that if you hold fast on that, you will never be misguided. And that is the Quran and my Sunnah. So here we are in this situation, which is a very unfortunate situation for all of us. We are feeling the ripples and the effects even thousands of miles away. Children are dying, hospitals are being bombed, and nobody wins the war. Believe me, I have lived through the war zone all my childhood. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. I have lived my childhood in the war, and I know nobody wins the war. A father dies, a child dies. Even if the war is won by their faction, this dead person, it doesn't mean anything for them. So I invite every one of us and to come together and to in peace and to help each other and avoid any kind of hostilities, atrocities, and all those things that has no results. At the end of the day, nobody wins the war. It is the talk and negotiations and sitting together and knowing each other is the one that is that happens at the end of the day. So at the end of this, I will make a little prayer, and that the prayer that we do every Friday in our sermon, I will say that Innal hamdalillah, all praise is and glory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nasta'inuhu, we seek help from Him. Wa nastaghfiruhu, and we ask forgiveness from Him. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina, and I seek refuge of Allah from the evils of my own self, of our own self. That is the greed and everything that causes all these problems. Wa sayyati a'malina, and the bad deeds that we do every day, day and night. Faman yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah. And I know that, oh Allah, you are the only one who can guide us to the right path. And if you guide, nobody can misguide me. And if you do not feel like I need guidance, I cannot be guided. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, and I bear witness that only one God is the one who is the worthy of worship. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, and I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is one of his messengers, as there have been messengers before: Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Lot, and all of them. About 25 of them are mentioned in Quran, and multiple of them are mentioned in the Hadith as well, in the sayings of the prophets. And I make the dua, and, O Allah, I invoke your mercy, and I say, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan. O Allah, show us the right thing as the right thing, and help us follow that. وَأَرِنَا الْبَاطِلَ بَاطِلًا وَارْزُقْنَا اجْتِنَابَهُ, and show us the wrong path as the wrong path, so that and help us avoid that. وَلَا تَجْعَلْهُ مُلْتَبِسًا عَلَيْنَا, and do not make it confused for us, فَضَل, so that we can get misguided. وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and help us be in the leading positions of the good people, inshallah. So, أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. This is what I had to say, and I make istighfar, seek refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for me and all of us, inshallah. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming today and sharing with us those words of prayer from your faiths. And may we all take from this and recognize that here we are one Aurora. We are one community. We are one people. No matter if we speak different languages, have different colors of skin, have different religions, we are one. And today is about peace. Today is about love and brotherhood and recognizing that I am my brother's keeper. Thank you. Now, I know there are some folks that were here to have these gentlemen pray for us and pray for Aurora and continue to pray for our souls in peace. I'll give you an opportunity to leave unless you want to stay for the entire meeting. Now, you're welcome to do that, but I know that folks are busy and have places to go and places to be. So I'll give everyone an opportunity that would like to file out at this time before we start the regular business of the meeting. And again, thank you for your prayers. Continue to pray for Aurora. All right, the next portion of the agenda is public comments. We do not have anyone that is signed up wishing to offer public comment at this time, so we'll go on to the next portion of the agenda, and that's committee reports. Chairwoman Patty Smith, can you give the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee report, please?
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor. The Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee on October 25th, 2023 was canceled, so we have no report.
Thank you. That makes that easy. And can we give Vice Chairman Ed Bugg, can you give the Finance Committee report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finance Committee met on October 26, 2023, and reviewed the following items for your consideration. 23-0840, resolution authorizing the execution of real estate contracts to purchase properties and appropriating Rebuild Illinois bond funds required for the Indian Trail signal modernization and resurfacing Edge Lawn to Highland project in the amount of $23,600. The phase one for this is already complete. We obtained federal funding on this project, which will cover 80% of the project. So consent on that.
With no objections, item going consent.
Thank you. 23-0857, resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to increase a purchase order with Oxy Valley Electric Supply to an amount not to exceed $70,000 for supplies needed for the electrical Division.
Consent.
The Electrical Division has spent $40,000 to date. They foresee going over the $50,000 threshold and thus wanted to come seek that additional amount. Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Resolution 23-0859, resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant award of $85,630 from the Illinois Attorney General's Office as part of the Attorney General's Organized Retail Crime Grant Program.
Consent.
Excellent job by the police department and a number of departments working together. These funds will help out with possible crime at Chicago Premium Outlets and doing prevention there.
With no objections, item going consent.
And finally, 23-0865, resolution updating the snow parking violation fee pertaining to Chapter 27, Section 27-8, fees, fines, and penalties of the City of Aurora Code of Ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. And I believe staff is here. I believe we're just going to ask for very brief explanation on our change for our fees, fines, and penalties in this area.
Good evening, Ruthie Harris, Property Standards Manager. We had presented this to Finance. It is a resolution amending Exhibit A, which was presented back in 2013, December 2nd of 2013, resolution number R13033. Staff got together. We met, had some meetings, and put our heads together trying to figure out how to best come up with recommendations on how to amend the parking enforcement and how to have better recommendations that with this group that we had together, we came up with some recommendations. One of the recommendations was to increase the parking ticket fee by $15. Currently, it is $25. So we would like to recommend the increase to be to $40. And along with the parking recommendations, we will move forward with presenting to the citizens of Aurora different ways that they can move their vehicles off of the street. We will be presenting them with graphics showing where they can park on their property for up to 24 hours after the event. And if you guys have any questions,
Questions?
I will be.
From the Alderman Smith.
Yeah, my only question is, that's a pretty significant increase. So why did it go, I mean, that's $15 more. That's,
What we did was we brought in comparables from neighboring municipalities, and we went with an average. We then go to the highest end, and Aurora was already at the lowest end.
And do you mind sharing which municipalities you used?
Absolutely. Let me pull those up. We did.
Actually, after we looked at the comparables, although we moved from $25 to $40, we're still really, with cities our size, we're still on the lower end. We're not even up by some of the Chicago, Rockford, Elgin, and such. So we definitely, there's a problem with parking during snow events, and this is just the first step in moving to try and cure some of this. And we look forward, to the promotion and how to get this out to the residents. I think it'll be excellent.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Garza.
I'm with Alderman Smith. I think it's increase kind of a little bit high for, I don't know if it's good to just going in the 24, maybe 5, and 25 another 5, and going to 40 maybe in steps. I don't know if it's possible, because normally like $25, especially in my area, if you see the word 2, as the more people have tickets, you can see on the screen. So why? Because we have so many buildings with a lot of families, a lot of houses with a lot of families, and sometimes they have only one driveway with 2 cars, you know that. Mm-hmm. And they want to park in the street, 8 cars, 10 cars. So the reason they live all together in one house is because they can afford a rent to move by myself. So now they want to charge him $40 because they don't have other place to park. To me, I think it's kind of high.
And again, we looked at comparables around different municipalities around us. And we are also going to push information out to these same residents, giving them options on where to park so they can move their vehicles off of the street for a temporary solution until the plows are able to get through the street and plow from curb to curb. Once that has taken place, the residents are able to park on the street. So once the resident sees that the street has been cleared,
I
they can
understand
park.
that, Ruth. Yeah, I understand, but, so you provide already that information
We are
before the increase?
We are going to provide the recommendations on where to park prior to, of course, within the next several weeks before our snow event. when our
Yes,
snow-
yeah, because they don't know where they're gonna park, especially when, our area is very crowded.
And I understand that, and
Yes.
we
And,
did.
And Aurora is Aurora. I don't like when we compare with other municipalities. Aurora is Aurora, and we are unique, and we have to care about our constituents.
Yeah,
Is my point.
we compare to make sure that we are fair in our increases, so we don't go too high. And in this instance, we're still under the threshold of 3 of the municipalities that are equal to Aurora. Their tickets are $60, $80, and $55, while we're still going to be under $50. So the $50 increase was something that we discussed, and it was a team of at least 7 of us that got together, and that's what we felt was going to be fair for the citizens, and also for, to make sure that these vehicles are moved off the street.
And if I may, Alderman Garza, I think the purpose of the increase is to assist with enforcement. So those same families that live in the houses in the city of Aurora deserve to have their streets plowed, just like every other street.
Yeah.
And as long as we work hard to make sure that we provide other opportunities from the park, sometimes in their own yards where they would not normally be able to park, we can make sure that that family that has 2 families in a house and the family next door that only has 1 family and 1 car can still have their streets plowed. And that's what the purpose of this is, not to punish, but to use as a tool to help enforce, to make sure that we can plow everyone's street equitably, equal as we do with every other town. Unfortunately, as you pointed out, Aurora being unique in a 185-year-old city, many of our homes in that area don't have driveways, and some of them don't even have alleys.
Yes,
There's-
exactly.
and
Some they share the driveways, and it's very difficult.
And there's nowhere to park. But at the same time, if we don't effectively plow streets, it can happen. The snow will melt, it'll turn to ice, it'll make it even more dangerous in that
Yes.
same neighborhood. So this will help us to make sure we can clean those streets on the east side of Aurora, just like we do on the far west side and the far east side. We're gonna need the help of our community, and we're gonna do our job making sure we get the information out about parking opportunities. But we have to do this to make it enforcement, because many people will say, instead of moving my car, I'd rather just pay that $25. We don't want them to take that option.
Yeah.
We prefer.
Well, so you're planning to do the distribution of the spaces where they want to park?
Yes.
And how you want to let us know?
Good evening, Alex Voigt with the Mayor's Office. So we have a few different things, as Ruthie alluded to, that we will be doing. Under the wrap agenda tonight, there is a request to amend the ordinance to update, as Ruthie indicated, where people can park. So we have the snow ticket increase, we're updating the ordinance. Additionally, an email was sent out October 24th to all of the Alder people requesting that if you have a neighborhood similar to yours where people have parking challenges, to please contact the deputy mayor in our office, and he will work with you to reach out to residents, find alternative parking spaces, and additionally, we will be sending out graphics and information. We are planning to do postcards and social media boosts.
English
So
and Spanish. correct?
English and Spanish,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah, 'cause
correct.
we have so many spaces. We have so many churches that are not in service sometimes.
Correct.
But we need a permit. parking there.
Sure. Well, and
So,
that's where we'd like to
yes.
have Memo
The
work
flea
directly.
market is all the time, but the flea market is lack. They have gates. So,
Yep. Well, and that's where we'd like to do things a little bit differently this year in terms of having someone work one-on-one with the ward alderman individually. We'll be doing the mailers, social media postings. So this is something different for us, but it is a significant enough problem that we would like to address it in as many ways
Okay.
as possible.
Thank you.
And Alderman, and I believe Alderman Masiacos also had his hand raised as well, because Third Ward is very similar to Second
Yes.
Ward. We'll be relying on you heavily to help identify locations where we can have families park, to ensure that they can get their streets plowed. Because if cars are parked on the street, they're not gonna get it plowed, and they're gonna create even more of a danger and hazard for that same family we're trying to look out for. So this is just a tool that we need to help to make the community better for everybody. Alderman Masiacos.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, Mayor, but we're not also out there full-time. We take it one challenge at a time and try to reach with staff, and hopefully staff will help, who is working full-time, to help take care of some of those things. But my question is this: how am I supposed to read this, this chart? And I'm very appreciative of staff in providing these numbers. There's an 80% decrease in the amount of tickets written over the last 3 years, from 2020, 2021. What does that mean? I mean, is enforcement working? Are we not enforcing tickets?
Well, the
How am I supposed
2020.
to read that? Because it's just data. And
Sure.
It's a big number, 80% decrease. So if something's working there, I would think. So and I'm going to put that out there to help me understand. If it's gone down 80% citywide in the amount of tickets we've written, why would we be proposing an increase?
Sure. Well, in the 2020 year, there were a lot more cars at home, so certainly that was, and I believe we had more snow. So I'm going to let Ruthie answer that one.
Sure. And then in 2021 and 2022, which it went down from 162 to 111, there is several components there. We had less snow, and when you're looking at the tickets written, those tickets are written by staff members who are they don't have to come into work when I call them in to write snow tickets, that it's a voluntary thing. And I do know that in that year, I did not have as many staff members that wanted to drive into work to write tickets on snow days, because most of the snow events happen during the weekend. It will either be that Saturday or that Sunday, and I can't mandate them to come in. So that explains the difference from 162, which was 2020 COVID area, and we had so many people at home, versus 2021 when the snow wasn't as much and the staff didn't come in.
So then my next question would be, is there a way to track it, to quantify the amount of complaints per snowstorm on average when it does happen?
Sure. So to follow up, first of all, Alderman, in your first question, the numbers that provided to you were just to give you a snapshot by ward. This is just information from Excella. So this does not include tickets or tows by the police department. This was just based on
Okay.
the customer service data that we received.
Okay.
And the other attachment was, I believe, types of snow complaints, again, gathered from Excella. And we didn't want to ask for something like a ticket increase without giving you some background information as to why this is part of the approach that we're taking for this year.
So is there a way to get that information from the police department?
Sure, we can ask for that.
That'd be wonderful, too.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get a good idea of, with the
What we're
data
working
on
with.
What's the average amount of calls that we receive per snowstorm, especially if some years are not as heavy in terms of
The snowfall.
snowfall and removal requirements?
Sure, we can add that before next week.
That'd be great. Appreciate it.
Any
Thank you,
other-
Mayor.
Alderman Smith?
Can we just make sure we get whatever information you guys are sending out so that we can also put it on our social media as well? Ms. Harris said that they'd be sending out some.
Oh, absolutely. There will
So
be,
we can get it out.
yes, we will be asking all of the alder people to share all of the information. I mean, we would like to
Thank you.
spread this as far and wide as possible. So yes, thank you.
Consent?
Alderman Leish?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to say thanks to the staff for, I know you've been working to identify some areas. I would say that I favor Alderwoman Garza's approach of finding the areas for people to park, and even suggest that during a snow event, we designate one side of the street to parking so the plows can go through. This is a solution that plow truck drivers have shared with me over the years. And I do see the increase as somewhat of a tax on the poor, because all of these areas, and I live on a street that has parking on both sides, which is where I feel that the issue is when there's parking on both sides of the streets, and those are all going to be second, third. I know there's places in the fourth, sixth ward like that as well. But I'd like to see the item on unfinished business.
So just to follow up on that, and I believe that this was covered at Finance Committee as well, but that is an idea that's been reviewed several times and was part of this round of conversations, but the Public Works Department advised against it, and I certainly don't want to speak for them, but that was a method that I don't believe they indicated would work for them. And of course, we can have a better explanation at City Council as well.
And anyone
Thank
who's
you.
been in the second and third ward knows that the streets are not nearly as wide as some of the newer areas. So even if you plowed half the street, there'd still be a huge issue with snow piled up on the street. This isn't a tax on the poor. Matter of fact, this small increase is a whole lot less than a car getting towed, which would cost that poor person a whole heck of a lot more than helping the way we're attempting to help and using this as a tool. So we'll put on unfinished and we'll talk about it next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the Finance Committee report this evening.
Thank you very much, sir. There's a special finance?
Okay. We had our special Finance Committee meeting on October 17th, October 19th, October 24th, November 1st, November 2nd, to discuss and review the proposed 2024 city budget. Special Finance Committee meeting on November 1st, Finance Committee also reviewed the following item, 23-0855, ordinance pertaining to the paid leave policies and practices applicable to employees of the city. We're incorporating some things that were negotiated with different bargaining units, and that's
Consent.
what we have there.
No objections on the
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put this on unfinished business.
Unfinished.
Quick question there. This was discussed with the bargaining unit?
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Counsel.
This is incorporating the collective bargaining agreements that we're negotiating that are in effect right now.
Okay, and if I remember from the Finance Committee meeting, what we said was the paid leave benefits that we offer as a city supersede the state law.
That is correct.
And then, so why have the ordinance?
To reaffirm that and establish that as the intent of the city of Aurora in full exercise and so on.
I would say that it might also seek to undermine the state law and then be used in other municipalities and other governing bodies to undermine the state law.
Noted.
All right, it's on unfinished. You can talk about it next week. Next, is there anything else? Nothing? All right. So let's go on to the next portion of the agenda. Chairman Seville, can you give the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Public Health and Safety Transportation Committee met October 24th, 2023 to consider one item, 23-0769, the resolution authorizing the director of purchasing to purchase fire hose from Air One Equipment of South Elgin for the amount of $177,220.
Consent.
Consent.
Will be funded by a grant from FEMA. They're paying 90% of it. All of these hoses, which are 3 different sizes, are 20 years and older. They will be donating old hoses to fire districts in the area that may need them. So consent is good. And that's
Consent.
PHS and T-Mayor.
Thank you, kind sir. All those go on consent. Chairwoman Wani Garza, can you give the Infrastructure and Technology Committee report, please?
Mayor, we don't have no items to report. It's an advance to the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you much. All right. Chairman Juan Warman, can you give the Rules Administration Committee report, recognizing there are going to be a few items that you accuse yourself from, and I believe Vice Chair Yamas will be stepping in for those, but I'll let you proceed as you see fit. Your microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rules Administration and Procedures Committee met on October 17, 2023, and reviewed the following items. Resolution, or 23-0416, a resolution approving the Invest Aurora and Ward 3 Facade and Site Improvement Grant Program.
Consent.
And I believe Alderman Masiacos wanted to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say, first of all, thank you to the committee for, again, approving and continuing Third Ward program that was installed and initiated last year. And I know I mentioned in the meeting that our legal department reviewed the document, and there was a welcome new review, unbeknownst to me, by Deb Lang. So she just added a few more robust words in the document, which I was very appreciative of. Like through the end of the year as opposed to just the end of the year, and proof of payment for completed work at the ward work. So I appreciate that review for cleanup. And again, one of the attorneys on the committee, which he wasn't talking as an attorney, but I really appreciate a comment by Alderman Ed Bugg in regards to looking into getting bids from local businesses. So taking that into consideration as well, I thought it was a positive idea. And so we have an additional item added to the application checklist, which reads, at least one itemized project quote bid is required, and when available, at least one quote bid should be submitted by an Aurora-based business provider when applicable as well. So I want to thank Alderman Bugg, and I want to thank the committee for their support of this resolution. So that is those are the primary, the general changes, primary and general changes to this that I think needs a motion.
So moved.
So moved to approve.
So with those changes, we can just put that on consent with no objection? No objection. With those changes, we'll put that on consent.
All right, thank you so much.
Next item, 23-0512, a resolution authorizing a 2-year grant program in the amount of $50,000 per year in partnership with Rebuilding Together Aurora and the Neighborhood Project to assist qualified residents with projects in the Third Ward.
Consent.
No objection, so I'm going consent.
And then the next 4 items, I need to recuse myself. Should I read the item numbers or just skip those?
Yeah, we'll have Alderman Yamas read those items.
Okay, great. Next item is 23-0815, a resolution approving the appointment of Michael Zapeta to Aurora Veterans
Consent.
Advisory Board.
No objection, so I'm going consent.
Next item is 23-0817, a resolution appointing 3 inaugural members, Daryl Silberman, Tiffany Hall, and Alvin Watkins, for a 3-year term to the Music Events and Entertainment Commission.
Consent.
Consent.
Objection, so I'm going consent.
Next item, 23-0818, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 2-491, Music Events and Entertainments Commission.
Consent.
No objection, so I'm going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 23-0835, a resolution appointing 4 inaugural members, Dee Dee Foley, Michael Summers, Alex Benitez, and Brandon Smith, for a 2-year term to the Music Events and Entertainment Commission.
Consent.
Consent.
No objection, so I'm going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 23-0837, a resolution appointing 4 inaugural members, John Sargent, Nina Army, Rosa, William Small Jr., and Aaron Lechuga, for a 1-year term to the Music Events and Entertainment Commission.
Consent.
Consent.
Objection, so I'm going consent.
Next item, 23-0843, an ordinance amending Chapter 27, Section 27-168, stopping, standing, or
Consent.
parking prohibited.
No objection, so I'm going consent.
And then I'm going to recuse myself for the next
All
one.
right, for the record, Alderman Warman will recuse himself for the items that will be covered by Vice Chair Yamas upon Alderman Warman's leaving the council chambers. Alderman Vice Chair
We have to
Yamas.
close the door? There we go. So, Mayor, we have to read these individually since they're all related, or can I read all 4 together?
You can read them all 4 together if they're related.
The first one is item 23-0800, an ordinance amending Chapter 8-Division 8-4-1 pertaining to amusement devices generally.
Consent. Oh.
The next item, 23-0801, an ordinance amending Chapter 8-Article 8-4, Division 8-4-1 23-4-5 pertaining to video gaming.
Consent.
Objections, I'm sorry, unfinished on that.
Oh, I'm finished.
Unfinished on 801,
Okay.
but not 800.
Both
Yeah,
of
I
them,
said
because,
unfinished.
because.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Or
didn't
did you,
hear.
did you say both? All right, go ahead.
Because Alderman.
Yeah, actually, because Alderman Warman's not going to be
Oh,
voting, so
duh.
put them all on unfinished.
Next one, 23-0803, an ordinance amending Chapter 29 Article 29-4, Division 29-4-2 pertaining to gambling.
Unfinished.
A question, Alderman Donnell.
Mr. Mayor, we often get questions when it comes to the gaming machines. I wonder if we could have a brief presentation on these items?
Good evening, Alex Voigt from the Mayor's Office, and I'm joined by Deb Lang from the Law Department. These 4 items together were brought forward to address an issue with illegal amusement devices that are very similar to gaming terminals. So just as an overview, these 4 amendments all seek to address the very same issue, but we had to go through different chapters and sections. These devices operate in a manner very, very similar to video gaming terminals, but these, where we have identified the locations where these machines are popping up, none of which would fall or would be eligible under our video gaming ordinance, which of course is very restrictive, and our operators are required to follow a very specific set of rules and regulations. So we have identified approximately 15 locations with Aurora. There's no limit on the number of terminals at this point. If you'll recall, the city of Aurora limits the number of video gaming terminals to 5 per location. And again, none of these locations would be eligible for video gaming terminals. Previous attempts to remove these through our administrative hearing process and our current rules and regulations have been unsuccessful, which is why we opted to take this path in terms of amending the ordinances. So we've included some photos just so the council could see what we are talking about. So you can see they are in gas stations, laundry facilities,
Wow.
and if you, let's see, in the photo, the horizontal photo, if you look in between the 2 wheels, you'll see vouchers hanging, and those are the vouchers that individuals are turning in for cash, which is where the line is being blurred between just an amusement device and a video gaming terminal. Just some additional photos of locations in Aurora. Lots of photos. So the section specific to video gaming, what we opted to do was to update the definitions. And the discussion that we had at the RAP committee was we previously had licensed some of these machines under our current amusement license, and that was before the exchange of vouchers for cash started. So what we decided to do was to update the definitions to clearly articulate a video gaming device versus an amusement device. And the conversation we had at the RAP committee was to make sure that the definition would not impact actual amusement devices. So we did go back and add sentences to make sure that that is reflected as well. Does that answer your question, Alderman?
Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Leish, turn your mic.
Just so again, back to enforcement then, if they give a voucher, they will not be allowed to operate in the city? Or is it if they advertise for a voucher?
If there is any sort of, if you are not a video gaming machine operator, if there is any sort of a voucher exchanged for cash, that's where the line is drawn. So tokens, prizes, those sorts of things that you would see at a
Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, the former Luigi's, those sorts of things, our video game arcade, those will not be impacted by the changes here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, unfinished
Thank
as
you.
well,
I
unfinished.
think there's still one left.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last one is 23-0806, an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Division 8-4-6 pertaining to video gaming. Also unfinished.
Unfinished.
Unfinished, no questions.
That was the last item. If we can bring
Thank you.
Alderman Warman back in.
Alderman Moore, we discussed the items that you recused yourself from. With those items and the ones that you've listed, does that conclude the RAP committee report?
Yes, Mayor, that concludes the RAP committee.
Thank you very much. Let's go on to new business. Madam Clerk, will you read the first item under new business?
Twenty-three 0892, a motion authorizing and directing the Chief Human Resources Officer to execute a settlement agreement on behalf of the city and workers' compensation claim number 189999617-001.
Questions? No objection. This item will go on consent. Next item, Clerk.
23-0903, a resolution authorizing an agreement for a 3-year subscription with 2 option
Consent.
years for a complete website redesign and existing digital services from Granicus, Denver, Colorado, for a total amount of $1,277,459.69.
Mr. Martinez, apparently you've got a presentation.
I was confused.
Oh, I was making a mistake. I was confusing y'all.
Yeah.
Just like I know it, right?
Just in case. All right. Good evening, Tony Martinez, Director.
Before I assume there's going to be questions on this item, because I know we've got a consent on the table. Are there any questions from the council?
We're waiting for the report.
All right, there we go. There's the questions in.
Good evening, Tony Martinez, Director of Communications. So I want to start with an overview of how we got here where we're at today. So over a year ago, this council approved a contract with City Base to execute a website redesign project here with the city for the amount of a little bit over, almost at $605,000. As we embarked on that journey with staff to recreate the way obviously residents interact with our city digitally and online, we encountered some gaps in the product that was proposed by our first website vendor. Some of those gaps were in our mind insurmountable. So at that time, we took that time to take a pause, really look at, okay, what's the value we're getting with the contract and the premium that we paid, the premium price we're paying for that product, and the value that we're getting. As we said since the beginning of the project, obviously technology always advances every day, right? There's changes in the landscape with technology, and one of those changes in that landscape happened while we embarked on this journey. So 2 of the top 3 website providers that we did evaluate, and they were very highly ranked in the top 3 by staff, by ourselves and IT, actually merged. So Granicus actually bought Open Cities to be their website platform to add to their very robust suite of products. This enabled Granicus to provide new products, new services in terms of website, communication, and so on and so forth. So as we experienced some gaps with our original website vendor, we did engage in a conversation with Granicus. Because we already have Granicus services and we've had some of their products for years and we have been satisfied with their products, we asked them about their acquisition of Open Cities as a website platform. We also reached out to other cities that have Granicus and use Open Cities as their platform. And the reviews, the feedback that we received from those other cities were overwhelming. And even starting that initial conversation with Granicus about, let us know how your services have changed since you acquired Open Cities. And that conversation was very fruitful and something that was very appealing to staff. And they really approached it not only as a website solution, but as a solution to really transform the way government does business with residents and how to digitize City Hall as much as possible. And they have a robust suite of products, which I will go through. So we, as staff, we stepped back. We really loved what we saw because of the new products and the acquisition. So we made the decision to change course. And we talked to City Base, and we mutually agreed to separate ways of the contract with City Base. Obviously, this is not something that we go into and we take this lightly. We have a very rigorous process with Marketplace City, but sometimes this happens. 9 out of 10 times we get it right. We do our homework, we do the background, we check references. Those are all boxes that we checked off, and just sometimes it just doesn't work out. And this was one of those cases. And you'll see that what Granicus is offering with their contract, with all the products and services, is a great value. And I think, in the conversations with members of the INT committee, I think Alderman Masiacos put it the best. This is a time that we could really take advantage of the opportunity to really transform the way that we do business with residents with the robust suite of products that Granicus is offering. So just to give you a little snapshot of our website currently, of our website traffic. So monthly we have over 150,000 page views for our website. We have over 60,000 unique users to our website monthly. So it is our main gateway to how we interact and how we communicate with our community. It is a very important tool and an integral piece. Right now our website is a little fragmented. I think we've all heard the feedback that we need to revamp it. So obviously, we just want to re-emphasize that this is the main gateway for all of our departments citywide on how residents interact with the city. The goals of the website redesign project is really to provide a product that's flexible, something that meets our needs and our unique needs in our community, and it's something obviously that's also ADA compliant, something that's also transformative. Right, we want something if someone who wants to wake up in the middle of the night and start their water service, or they just moved and they didn't know what to do, they just finished unpacking the truck, we want to give them a way that they can actually do that online without even stepping 1 foot inside City Hall or picking up that phone and calling our customer service center. We want something that's engaging, something that's much more than just a one-way tool, something that we can interact with our residents, to have a two-way communication, so we can get that valuable feedback on a consistent basis. So as we think about that, we want to give a little snapshot of what Granicus is. Not saying that bigger is always better, because bigger is not always better. But what Granicus has been doing over the past few years is acquiring different organizations and different businesses that are best in class to be able to provide a robust product suite for government entities. And you see they have a vast customer base, from federal all the way down to international, federal, state level, local level, and international. And on this slide, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner where there's the current Open Cities customers, where they have Open Cities and Granicus, and those are some of the cities, and I'll actually highlight some of their products and services there. So Granicus in total has over 5,500 customers, 5,500 customers, and they have over 1,000 employees. Not saying that bigger is always better, but when you're talking about support, you're talking about 24/7 support, talking about security, and if a website goes down, or we have any issues, or we need any modifications on the website, sometimes bigger is better to have that extra support, and they're always just a phone call away, like they have been with us as we use Legistar, and we use our GovQA, which is our FOIA process. They also have solutions that integrate with a lot of products that governments use. Us specifically, right? Where it already integrates with Legistar, that's their product. GovQA, which is the FOIA request process that we currently have. It also integrates with Acela, which our customer service department uses. They're also a certified partner with Esri, ArcGIS. So when we talk about the transparency portal, they are a certified partner with our ArcGIS and Esri products too. So in this slide, it illustrates, and the boxes that have a blue underline on them, those are products that we currently use with Granicus, and those are our agendas and videos. That's how, obviously, we use Legistar, and that's how these videos are broadcasted out to our website, and also our public records, which is our FOIA process. With this agreement, we're also proposing the website portion, which includes the engagement portion, email and text portion, and forms and workflows, to help digitize our processes here in City Hall. When we talk about their website, obviously this is the main part we approach them for. It's their Open Cities platform. give an example of what San Antonio is currently going through. They're going through a website redesign project with Granicus. They wanted to make sure that they provided a product that was try to get it out to residents as fast as possible. They're doing a two-phase approach, just like the agreement is proposed here with us, which the first initial phase will be launched 6 to 8 months after the project kickoff, and then the entire project 14 to 18 month rollout. So this is San Antonio's old site, which they still use because they haven't fully transitioned to the new site. And then this is their current site. So this is their new site that was revamped by obviously Open Cities and Granicus. As you can see, it has a much cleaner look and feel to it. It has a search bar right on top. So if I start, look, I started typing permits, and what it does, it have a suggested search engine. So it works just like Google, right? So we can put suggested search engine. I mean, it has news articles. The way it displays it, it's a lot more interactive. And you see, it's just a much cleaner look and feel. I'll go into a little bit some more of the highlights momentarily, but that just gives you a snapshot of the old versus what the new website that they created just for the city of San Antonio. When we talk about forms, digital workflow, right? How do residents really interact with us? Right now on our current website, we have a lot of PDFs on the website where if you want to start the water service or you want to start a permit, download this PDF, fill it out, scan it, or bring it to City Hall. Well, Granicus works to digitize that entire process. They did this in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And this is just a sample survey that they have right off of their website. So basically, a resident goes in, they say, okay, heads up, you're moving. How do you start a utility? It's a step-by-step process. That's the progress bar is right there at the top. It shows what the percentage you are complete with the forms. And you continue to go through the form, and it collects all of the data and sensitive data and sends it to the appropriate department to execute that task. Also part of the agreement is the Gov Delivery Communications Cloud. So as we increase communication engagement with residents, we really want to create a robust and try to make a seamless process for our residents as they interact with us. So right now, to communicate, we use Constant Contact, which is the email distribution software. Sometimes we use MailChimp because sometimes our emails get delivered faster and better with MailChimp than do with Constant Contact based on the algorithm and email sent out. We use Everbridge texting for emergency notifications. Obviously, we use all of our social media outlets. We use SurveyMonkey to help administer surveys out in the community. So with their communication cloud and their solution that they're providing, really brings everything all into one software. So not only does it create a seamless process for the residents, so that way we're not duplicating or we're not hitting them multiple times. We're with an email and a text and a call. We can control, and they can control on their end how they like to receive their information, whether it's by email, by text, and they get one message, and they don't have to be inundated with all the different types of messaging on different platforms. So by doing that, there's cost savings. So we can eliminate the usage of Constant Contact. We can eliminate the uses of MailChimp, SurveyMonkey, and what we've conservatively estimated around $6,000 a year just saving on that communication software that we currently use and bring it into one. Just want to give you an example of what that looks like. So the city of Des Plaines, Illinois uses that. So when you go to their website, this is the first box that pops up. How do you stay connected with the city of Des Plaines? And what that takes you to is how to connect with Des Plaines. And you can do a checkbox. You put you log in with your username and password, and you can manage your subscription topics. So you can go down by news, and we can control this. We go there by news. You can get notified by web page. So if you're following a certain project, you can get notified when that project page is updated, and you can get an email or text to let you know that that project or that page has been updated, so then that way you can go check it out. Here in the city of Des Plaines, they also have by wards. Really, I think this is something that we'll definitely would love to take advantage of, where we can keep residents informed on the updates from the wards, not always concentrating on the different social media. And when you're talking about engagement HQ, you look in the agreement, engagement. Engagement is key. How do we create that two-way feedback? They created an engagement website. So this is all within the agreement, all within the proposed agreement with Granicus, in creating an engagement website where we can list projects, we can list wards, really creating a robust website where we can actually engage with residents. As you look on here, I just click one of the projects that they have on here. So this is a project page that we would love to utilize. Just imagine going through the casino project as they're going through right now, right? And having a central landing page with a casino project where it has all the information about the casino. It has the staff who are involved with the planning. They have this right there on the right-hand side, so residents have their emails, they have their phone numbers, they can reach out to them directly, and then all the product and status updates regarding that project. So they have project schedule, they have the different, you can have surveys, you can ask questions, they have a Q&A built in right into the platform, and this is how their engagement HQ works. All on the back end, we're able to control, and we're able to see all the data that comes in for all these different touch points, all the different residents, to see how we can help, how we can continue to tailor our message to best reach and get our point across to all of our residents. And you'll see here all the interaction on this page, and the Q&A goes to these designated individuals that are in charge of that project. So, we can obviously, change the list of individuals, and that's how they're informed on as residents engage, with this project on this page. Also in the agreement is their Granicus experience group. And with it is consulting, and then they provide robust analytics, robust analytics, data insight. They help create the content, so they help migrate the content, write the content for us, and they'll also provide training for staff members that are in charge of their department websites to help train them to write content for webs. Right now, we haven't had that training for staff in quite some time, but that's very important to make sure that we have our staff properly trained as they continue to update the website, because it is a shared responsibility, because the communications department can't handle everything. Right now, our current website is over 5,000 pages, 5,000 web pages, and so it's extremely robust. We're going to try to obviously fine-tune that with the practices and the approach that's really tried and tested with Granicus, but it is a huge undertaking. So as I mentioned before, the timeline looks like this. We're hoping with your approval, we can move forward with approval at next week's council meeting, and then the timeline is based off of that date. So 6 to 8 months from the project kickoff, which was great. So even we did spend a year with City Base, there's still work that we recovered from that process that it will give us a leg up on the process with Granicus. So we do have that data. We did find we did scrub a lot of the information from our current website, and those are things that we can use to help speed up this timeline with Granicus. And the total project is 14 to 18 months.
Mr. Martinez, let me just point out, I think you're getting to that point right there, that with City Base, the total contract price that we're going to pay over the period of time, even with the money we expended, we're still saving money with Granicus, meaning we're never going to get to that amount that we're going to pay with City Base. At the end of the day, we're going to end up paying less money for the new website.
Absolutely. So this graph is trying to make it as simple as possible for people to understand. So the website transformation costs, and this not only includes the website, this is the website, the communication cloud, their consulting services, their engagement HQ. So really it's just that robust suite that we don't currently have right now. That 5-year contract is $584,000 approximately. And that is less than the $604,000 or $605,000 with City Base. So we're saving just on website costs. You might ask yourself, so what is the $1.277 million for the entire contract for the agreement? Well, 493,000 of that is the existing Granicus products we currently have. So even if we went with another website provider, these are still costs that we'll still pay with Granicus because we're not going to move away from Legistar. We're not going to move away from GovQA with our FOIA process. So these are costs that are always going to be with us. The reason we're combining it with this contract, obviously, is the ease of procurement, and it's just one master service agreement, so all of the products start at one date, and the renewal process is easier for all of the products at one time. So we don't have 5 different products renewing at different times throughout the year. So it's the total website transformation costs with the existing costs that we currently pay with Granicus brings the total to that 1.277 million. To break it down even more, so that savings that we have from the original contract is around $21,000, right? That's a difference between that 605 and 584. Granicus is also giving us a credit for their first year because they're aligning all the services. There's some cost savings there, so they are going to give us a credit for that first year because we're aligning all the services of about $79,000. And then there's a 5-year savings in that communication software I was talking about. Constant Contact, SurveyMonkey, MailChimp, and that's approximately $30,000. And that's really on conservative side because it gets more expensive the more subscribers and residents you communicate with. So that's a 5-year cost savings of $30,000. So you add those up, but then you subtract the $114,000 we paid with CityBase, right? And we're still coming out ahead. Financially, you're still coming out ahead. We're still coming out ahead of $16,000. Right, that we're still saving from the original contract. And that's not including the value in the products and services that are leaps and bounds over our previous website provider. So that's not taking into account the communication cloud, the value that brings, bringing in all of the communication under one roof, the engagement, and what we can do to help transform that experience here for our residents. And one big thing that I forgot that I should have looked at my notes while I was going through. One big thing that Granicus provides that not really many other website providers provide is the ability to translate specific parts of web pages. So obviously, there are web pages that just use Google Translate. We can't always depend on Google Translate. With Granicus, you can actually translate specific sections and specific sites for that sensitive information. So if there's something that really just doesn't directly translate into Spanish or any other language, you can actually have different variations of that page, and it's all built into the website. That's very unique because a lot of other website providers, to be able to do that, they just say, okay, we're just going to have to create a whole different site, and you're just going to have an English site or Portuguese site or Polish site to manage, and then that just becomes way too much to manage.
Questions? Alderman Leish.
Just a brief one. First of all, thank you for getting back on all the other questions in written format previously. But one thing that was unclear to me is there's multiple communication platforms. You mentioned Constant Contacts, MailChimp as an example. Is all that going to be moved into one integrated platform-specific communication software, or do we still have those just integrated through the website, the different?
No, so we'll actually eliminate the usage of that, and Granicus provides that service. So the emails will be sent out through the Granicus interface. The text messaging will be sent out through the Granicus interface. So really, Granicus replaces that software.
Okay, and then just a quick follow-up then. The users that we already have on those existing platforms will get some sort of invitation to customize their own communication needs from there. I assumed you would take that step.
Exactly.
And then my only final question is on the cost, because it takes 18 months to build it. Presumably, the addition over our existing Granicus contract is then to cover an ongoing maintenance level upgrade sort of service that they'll be providing.
Yes, it's all included in the agreement with the constant maintenance, security upgrades, and that's why it's a service as a solution in the cloud, right? That's all included within the contract and agreement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? No objections? I'm sorry, Alderman Vaught.
Yeah, so, of course, and how we arrived here, please explain the urgency on this matter that we could not hold it 2 weeks at committee. I don't sit on that committee, but I guess that committee moved to hold that. So what was the 2-week urgency?
Yeah, so we were talking with Granicus, right? They created the entire agreement based on a tentative date of being approved, right? With not only ours, but also their timeline, because they also have, I mean, they're a pretty big company, you know, obviously 1,500 customers. We wanted to make sure we can get this project started as soon as possible, and if we didn't hit that time window, we could be pushed to later, to start the project later in the first quarter of next year. So that was not something that we really wanted to wait on. And, you know, there were some great questions in INT. You know, it was held there, great questions, but we sat down with the different aldermen that had questions. You know, we sat down with Alderman Mesiacos, Alderman Garza. We answered the questions from Alderman Lash to make sure that those questions are all answered to move it here to the committee of the whole.
And what was the time frame?
Well,
You said there was a time frame.
yes, the period of time. So if we did, if that waiting the 2 or 3 weeks would also delay the kickoff to the first quarter, later in the first quarter of 2024. That wasn't, I mean, we'll start whenever we want, but that was really Granicus's really sweet spot to start it because they're tentatively scheduled to start that project kickoff because they had a gap they can work within. It was like 2 to 3 weeks, and that's where they scheduled us in. And they said, well, if you can't hit that date, that's fine. Just know that we would have to start your project a little, you know, later in the first quarter.
So we would have got like pushed back in the queue.
We would have got pushed back in the queue. Exactly.
Any other questions? Alderman Smith.
Yeah, I have more of a comment than a question. Today, because there was a situation that the folks from BZ&E wanted to talk to us about before we met for our next meeting, they sat down with us as aldermen 2 at a time to go through an item this important that impacts every department we have in our entire city. I hope we learn from this that you have something this important that comes forward. It would behoove you or any other department chair to sit down with the aldermen in twos as appropriate. Take the time to explain some of these things prior to the meeting so that perhaps this could have gone a little bit smoother and we wouldn't be here today. So, you know, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you just have to learn from your mistakes. But I think that when we have something that is this important to the city, important to us, important to our residents, we need to take the extra time to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry. This, Madam, go on consent. Consent. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. All right, that concludes our new business. That item goes to consent. Let's go on to the next portion, staff report. We have Eric Pry here that's going to offer a report on what's going on with our GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic.
Good evening. My name is Eric Pry. I'm the curator of the Grand Army of the Republic Military Museum, and I want to say the last 4 years have been transformative for our institution. The GAR Memorial Commission, once again, has no vacancies, which is great because the last several years before COVID, it was challenging to find members. And we are also nearing the completion of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources grant that was originally awarded in 2014 and subsequently frozen. It was reawarded to the city in 2019, towards the end there. With that funding, the staff have overseen the renovation of the lower level. There we go. Renovation of the lower level, restored the original 1878 frescoes, repainted what we call the Angel Room, which is the main exhibit area, and restored and replicated the GAR Sentry, which now sits atop the hall. Not only have we accomplished those projects over the years, but we have also expanded public programming opportunities, returned the 160-year-old Model 1841 6-pounder field gun to the city of Aurora, and hosted numerous exhibits and received several accolades for our efforts and set new records for visitation. As I mentioned, the GAR Memorial Commission does not have any vacancies. While these are the current commissioners, they are not all the members of the public who have volunteered countless hours in their pursuit to preserve and restore the GAR Hall. I want to extend my gratitude to those former members who are not listed here and to one member in particular, Dr. Michael Sauty, the chair of the commission, who has served over 20 years in the hopes of seeing this historic building flourish. And I want to thank Dr. Sauty for his leadership over the years and his ability to bring the commission together for the betterment of the museum and for the public. Make sure I got my... The first project that was accomplished under the IDNR grant was the renovation of the lower level. We want to build out this area to be a multi-use space where groups could utilize the space and could host new exhibits. With a total project cost of $223,000 and $223,886. This is the result of that effort. There we go. We're able to host public programming down there, host these new and exciting exhibits. The next project that was completed from funding with the IDNR was the restoration of the original 1878 frescoes. The photographs here were taken before substantial completion of the Angel Room in 2015. However, they looked like that when I started here in 2017 as well. The upper left is a portrait of Admiral David Farragut. The upper right is of George Washington. The lower left is of Abraham Lincoln. And the bottom right is of General George Thomas. As you can see, it's very difficult to see their faces. The frescoes today are much more vivid. The total project cost was $46,135, and each of the frescoes were cleaned by professional conservators by hand, a new protective layer placed over them, and they added a border around the original with the beige color to prevent any overpainting for the next part of the project, which was the repainting of the Angel Room. During the discovery phase of the frescoes, we had to do I'm not an expert in this, spectrophotometry, which revealed the original color of the hall. So the total project cost was $23,117, and we were able to restore the hall to the original colors from 1878. The next project that was undertaken was a little bit more challenging, in my opinion, as we only had one photograph of this chandelier. We wanted to replicate the 12-light chandelier from 1877 and 1878. Unfortunately, because of the only photograph being available is this one, it blends in with the fresco behind it. So the commission chose instead to opt for a same-year-like model, which means we did a lot of research to look for a similar 12-light chandelier, and this is the design that they chose, for a total project cost of $35,618.47. The final IDNR project was the restoration and replication of the GAR Sentry. In 2008, this statue was brought down and given to a conservator for restoration and cleaning. Unfortunately, it fell apart into about 45 pieces, as you can see here. It sat like that until 2021, when the project was awarded for a total cost of $122,045. This is a picture of the replica on the day it was replaced on top of the hall on November 10th of last year. The vendor painstakingly pieced together the original and created new structural points within the legs and torsos while filling any gaps with like material, generally zinc or zinc alloys. Once they had large enough pieces, they were able to create molds out of them and cast new bronze replica pieces. The bronze statue and the original zinc statue were pieced together and treated for long-term care. The bronze statue has a recommended maintenance schedule, and the original will be placed eventually into the museum for visitors to see up close. While the IDNR grant certainly has allowed the museum to flourish, I'm especially proud of some of the accomplishments the museum has made outside of the grant funding. The first is the expansion of our public programming offerings. In 2022, the Youth Services Department and the GAR Museum partnered with 3 other organizations to provide a free 4-week summer camp to 82 students from Aurora. Each week, one of the 4 groups would be with the GAR Museum to learn about our armed forces and the importance of museums and why or what museums do. Each day, they would also be given a free lunch if they did not bring a lunch as well. We have partnered with the Northern Illinois Food Bank to provide that. Earlier this year, we were able to return the Model 1841 6-pounder field gun to the city and place it out front of the museum. This barrel was cast in 1846 and saw service in both the Mexican-American War and the American Civil War. From the Inter-Ocean newspaper article on May 31st, 1884, it stated that 4 bronze howitzers were donated to the Monument Association here in Aurora, this being one of them. 2 more sit out front, and then there is a 4th that is currently in storage and is in need of restoration. The barrel was loaned out to reenacting group by the GAR Memorial Association, which was a volunteer nonprofit group that operated the museum until about 1999, and this barrel was returned to the city in 2020. The next 3 slides showcase some of the in-house exhibits that have been hosted in the new lower level. Each year, staff design and develop an exhibit utilizing the museum's collection, which runs for roughly 6 months. In between those exhibits, we host traveling exhibits from other institutions, such as our current exhibit on loan from the First Division Museum titled The Mexican American Experience, or exhibits designed and offered for free by the Smithsonian. The first exhibit that opened in the lower level was Service and Sacrifice. This exhibit detailed Aurora's military involvement since 1917 through 2021. The exhibit hosted in 2022, which is actually in the process of being developed into a traveling exhibit, is Through Calm and Tempest, which celebrated 145 years of our historic building. This year's in-house exhibit honored the women of Aurora and the United States. Hidden Warriors brought to light the courageous actions of women in the armed forces, from dressing up as men and enlisting under a pseudonym, to remembering Aurora's very own Corporal Sarah Medina, who was tragically killed during humanitarian relief efforts in Nepal in 2007. Opening in July of next year, we have planned a World War I exhibit where visitors will gain a greater appreciation for trench warfare and the horrible conditions soldiers faced in the trenches in France. Over the last couple of years, the GIR Museum has also been recognized by the Illinois Association of Museums, and staff have received an award from the Association of Midwest Museums. In 2022, Service and Sacrifice received the Award of Excellence in Best Practices and Exhibits. This year, the museum received 4 awards, including the Small Institution of the Year Award through the Illinois Association of Museums. And in July, I was honored to receive the Promising Leadership Award through the Association of Midwest Museums. Part of that award was due to the increased visitation to our historic building. On this slide, you can see the immense strides we have taken to increase museum hours of operation and bring visitors in to experience this hidden gem of Aurora. In 2022, the GR Museum was the most visited museum in downtown Aurora, with over 8,300 visitors. We are hoping to beat that this year if the weather holds out for some of our more holiday-themed events. And of course, if there's any questions, this is all my contact information. If anyone would like to have a presentation to their ward or would like to have a group come visit, we are always free to everybody. And I want to thank Mayor Irvin, our alderman, and the residents of our city for their continued support of the museum, and I hope to see you all at Winter Lights on the 17th.
Give Mr. Pryor a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Pryor. You've done a great job with our GAR, and we look forward to you continuing to build that and have exciting programs out of there. Did you talk about the fact that you're selling memorabilia?
Yes, we do have a museum store. If anyone's interested in purchasing the Hot Cocoa Crawl mugs for the Hot Cocoa Crawl on December 1st, we are also a site for that. So come on by and get your Hot Cocoa Crawl mug and pin, and then some merchandise to help support your museum.
Thanks again, Eric. We appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
All right, there is no, I'm sorry, Alderman Bay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to congratulate you for the awards, and just wanted, if you can say a line about it, it'll be nice, so that everybody can hear about the award that you received.
Oh, the Promising Leadership Award? Yes, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And so that was, I was nominated by one of our commissioners, Dr. Gerald Butters, to receive the Promising Leadership Award, which is awarded to a young professional, somebody who spent less than or fewer than 10 years in their field. So I'm about 8 years in, and they chose me. So I'm honored.
Thank you much. Again, we appreciate everything you do for the GAR, brother, and we look forward to hanging out with you in a couple weeks when we light our tree out there.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. There is no need for a closed session this evening. There's been a motion to be heard by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Yamas. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries a voice vote. This meeting is adjourned.